Hey guys, Preston here. Welcome back to another video. Today we are breaking down Notre Dame and Florida State's game that occurred over Labor Day weekend, with Notre Dame holding on to beat Florida State 41-38. It was not quite the game I was expecting. Obviously, I didn't get to make a preview video or podcast for this, but I definitely did not think it'd go this way. I think most Notre Dame fans assumed we would have won by more, which is it's fine. Maybe it's asking too much. Week one is really tough for a lot of teams. You'll see across the country with teams like Washington actually losing, North Carolina losing, and other teams like Iowa State barely beating Northern Iowa, or Oklahoma only beating Tulane by 5. So in the grand scheme of things, it really didn't look that bad. I'm going to still nitpick a lot. I do that. I think most of you come accustomed to me doing that by now, so I am going to point out a lot of flaws because I think Notre Dame's at the level where it's important to point out these flaws. We're not a program where we should just be happy about every win. We need to point out the stuff we need to fix if we want to beat the top teams in the country, because teams like Alabama and Ohio State look very good still, and if we played like we did against Florida State against them, it will not go well. So we're going to point out all this stuff. The typical setup will go break down the offense, the defense, the special teams, and some sort of stuff overall. So I guess we'll just go right in. Sometimes I start overall, sometimes I start position by position. I think this time we're just going to give you the rundown of some of these stats real quick. We'll start offensively. Jack Cohn. Also, hopefully some of you are used to this by now. I ramble a lot when it comes to my videos, especially Notre Dame and stuff. I'm passionate about them, so sometimes when I start talking about one player, I'll go in on that player. So don't get caught off guard. So I'm going to talk about Jack Cohn now. I'll read his stats, but then I'm probably going to go on a ramble about how good he was against Florida State. So also, if you're new here, please make sure to subscribe. In the information ticker up there, can go to the playlist of all my Notre Dame videos. I've talked about this when I said before. It's because I did a lot of pregame previews and postgame reactions for Notre Dame games all of last season. So hopefully some of you have seen that before, and if there's some new people because it's a new season, welcome, and just keep an eye on that playlist because that's where all my Notre Dame videos will go. Any of this stuff, and also some off-season content that's been done, like recruits for the 2021 class, and now I think they'll do in the future, along with every now and then I'll make a video when a kid commits to the class if I think he's really big and I can make a full video on him. Anyways, now that my ramble about that's done, let's keep going with what you're here for. Okay, so Jack Cohn was 26 of 35 passing for 366 yards, 10.5 average on average, with 4 touchdowns and only 1 pick. Sorry, I need a lot of water. I talk a lot during these. But the pick, I don't blame him for at all, because that was the Hail Mary that was a last-ditch effort right before halftime. I really can't blame him. So if you ask me, he had a pretty darn near perfect game. There's a couple times, especially I feel like it was like that second and third drive of the game, where he missed sometimes. He didn't connect on everything, obviously. Some of those attempts are drops, to be fair to him, including 2 from Michael Mayer, which we'll talk about. But overall, really solid game. I've been saying this most of the time, at least to my friends and stuff. I don't know if I ever got a video out about it, but I do think Jack Cohn is a more talented quarterback than Ian Book, especially when it comes to throwing a rock, and I think he proved that. Cohn's deep ball is way better than Ian Book, and you could tell by how different the offense looked. The offense seemed way more open with this new. I think they're just more confident in throwing the ball. The receivers played well. The quarterback played well. It all worked out, and 41 points is really impressive. I don't think most of us would have thought Notre Dame would put up 41 last year. I called this game almost like a reverse of last year, especially last year's opener. You think about last year's opener against Duke, we only scored like 22 or something like that. But we also held Duke to basically nothing. This year was the opposite. We scored a crap ton, but then we also didn't hold Florida State to nothing either. We let them score a crap ton too. So, when we get the defense, we'll talk about that. But it is interesting to think that's basically a reverse of what happened last season. By the way, when you see me look off, it's because I got stats and managing the podcast version of this and stuff all up on my laptop. So I'm looking over here. That's what I'm looking at. I try to look at you guys more. I'm trying to get better at that. The camera's right there on the phone. It's just weird because you just want to look at yourself, and that's when you get the weird eye angle like this. So just my eyes might water everywhere. Just hope you're cool with that. Anyways, Cohn, excellent performance. I'm really excited to see what he brings to the team, and I think it's the right choice to start him. I know some people are a little worried. I think he was always destined to do better with us. I mean, he did really good for Wisconsin, and that's a team you just doesn't have a modern offense. I think it's easy to tell. I mean, Graham Mertz did not have a good game against Penn State week 1. I think their system's just tough for quarterbacks, and I think Cohn's going to thrive under ours. I honestly do. Running game was rough, to say the least. I mean, this offensive line might be an issue the rest of the season, which is something which is scary to think about. This is a team which prides itself on its own line. I will say this: our current offensive line coach. Sorry, I have to Google his name. I don't know. I forgot it. I swear it's like Jeff something. It's Jeff Quinn. So Jeff Quinn, this is the first year where all these kids, all the whole O-line are his prospects, and he's had time to develop a lot of them. And it's just not going well. I don't know how much you want to read into that. I'm not saying we should go for his head or anything, but it's interesting to see as soon as all of Harry Highstand's guys, they're all gone now. This is the first time with his recruits and him being fully under control, and it's not great. So that's something to keep your eye on. If you can't coach these guys up, he'll have to go, if you ask me. Anyways, we'll got to give them time. A lot of these guys, they've been in the program for a while, some of them, but they just haven't had a lot of reps under their belt. I think the first game back was tough for a lot of people, so we'll just have to see. We'll have to see. Blake Fisher, the starting left tackle, who is a true freshman, by the way. I did have a video on him in the playlist a while back when I'm talking about O-line recruits, I believe. But anyways, I digress. He got hurt. He's shaken up a little bit. They said I think it was knee-related, but not too bad, not a muscle tear or anything, so we'll have to see how long he's out. I'm not real concerned if he misses next game, because that's against Toledo and that should be a blowout, but games after that is when I'd start to get a little concerned, so hopefully he can get back as soon as possible. Running game, like I said, was pretty anemic. I think definitely a part of the offensive line, because we know how talented Kyron Williams and Chris Tyree are. I will say they're the only two running backs who got stats, and that's because Sebo Flemister, who is our third running back, some of you probably remember from last season. I do enjoy it. He plays well too. I like him, but he did not make the trip. They weren't real clear. I don't know if it's COVID related. I don't want to speculate, but him and Logan Diggs, the other freshman running back, didn't make the trip. Estime was there, but he got no carries, unfortunately. I would have loved to see some carries from him. Hopefully, that's something we'll see against Toledo. Hopefully, we can run the score up enough. We can get some of these freshmen some reps, So stats-wise, Kyron Williams had 18 carries for 42 yards, averaging 2.3. That 2.3 average is tough to look at. Tyree did better in that department, 7 carries for 31 yards and 4.4 yards per carry and a touchdown. So real good outing from Tyree. I did think he got more reps. I mean, he was out there a good amount. I think he definitely, maybe he only got 7 carries, but he was just involved out there. Maybe some pass plays and stuff. There was a lot of passing to the running backs, I will say that. Even though they weren't super effective in the run game, they still found uses for him, and guys like Kyron still blocked pretty well. So overall, I don't blame the running backs. I blame the O-line, so I'm not going to be harsh on the running backs today. Probably a B for the running back group. And quarterback A, if I didn't say that, it's definitely an A performance from Jack Cohn. Running back, I can't say B, though. In terms of rushing, Notre Dame's rushing game, you factor in the O-line too, that's a D. It's a C. It's a C for rushing. Just rushing. Not what they did receiving. I guess I'll change it up. I won't go the running back room. I'll do the run game so I can factor in the O-line, and I can factor in the O-line for the pass game too. So the pass game, Michael Meyer had a heck of a game, minus the drops. He has some drop issues. That some of that happened last year, but I think it's tough to murder him just for that when you look at the fact he still had 9 receptions for 120 yards and a touchdown, even when consider makes up for the drops partially, I'd say. Give him some credit, right? He did good work, helped this team a lot. So we want to blame him for some of that stuff. Maybe we wouldn't have to go to overtime if he didn't do that one drop, but we also wouldn't have been in that position without his 120 receiving yards and his touchdown, So you got to pick and choose kind of how mad you want to be. I think he can do better, though. It sucks because he's obviously so talented. I mean, the kid's incredible. There's a lot of potential there. Could be like a first-round pick one day. He just needs to work on some stuff, but he's young, so he has time. Just want to see a bit more from him when it comes to drops only. Productions, he's still astounding. I mean, dude's a beast. There's no denying that. Also, you'll hear him, the broadcasters called him Baby Gronk 3 times, just so you guys know. I mean, some of you probably do, especially if you're big Notre Dame fans, but he hates being called Baby Gronk, so don't call him that if you ever meet him, I guess. I try to come up with some other nickname. I don't know what we do, but, anything's better. I mean, it's Michael Myers is close, but, Halloween character, maybe we can find something in that, but no more Baby Gronk, that's all I'll say. Kevin Austin, finally healthy, finally in a big role, and he didn't disappoint. 4 receptions for 91 yards and a touchdown. Not bad at all. The speedy guys were the receivers who did the most today. Braden Lenzy had 2 receptions for 39 yards as well. But Kyron had himself a day passing, which got him to over 100 all-purpose yards, which is what we've come to expect from the immense talent that is Kyron Williams. He had 83 receiving yards on 6 receptions and a touchdown. It was a nifty little touchdown. Definitely broke a guy's ankles on that play. Hopefully you saw the highlight on Twitter or something. Fantastic day from Kyron just all around, but that's to be expected. I mean, the man is an immense talent. I think we all knew that. Joe Wilkins only had 1 catch, but he made the most of it, as it was an awesome 23-yard touchdown that he held on to while fighting with the Florida State corner. I don't know if you saw the play, but the corner basically ripped the face mask the crap out of him when they were already on the ground. I think Florida State was pretty chippy the whole game, so not a huge fan of that. But hey, we got the win anyway, so who cares, right? And then Chris Tyree had 4 catches for 10 yards, so a little more to be desired from Tyree's catching game. But like I said, the O-line was still not great for passing either. Just in general, the O-line today has to get a C-. I feel like I'm being nice there too. I could honestly go D, and it wouldn't be like crazy to say, but it's all right, I guess, right? So, because the receiving, actual passing game itself wasn't bad. 366 passing yards is pretty darn good, especially from our debut quarterback. Getting used to the system and everything. I'm guessing they'll be more and more explosive as we go, but it's already off to a good start. We did fumble twice, apparently, but we didn't lose either of them, so that's good. But, hold on to the football. These are ESPN stats. I'm having a hard time remembering those fumbles, so please remind me if you know when they were. Feel free to comment about them and jog my memory. I'm using stats from ESPN. I normally do Bleacher Report, but I had a hard time. I couldn't really access them for some reason. So, unfortunate, right? But what we can do is check out the defense now. So overall for the offense, that's got to be an A. I mean, there's a lot of problems, but they still scored 41 points, 38 before overtime. They put up points. That's what you want your offense to do, and regardless of the problems with some of the drops, the run game not working, and the O-line just being kind of poor and inexperienced, they still scored 41, so it's hard to be too mad at them. That's a B for me. The defense is the problem. If I'm going to call this harsh, this is real harsh. I'm getting a big fat, I was going to say F. I think F. My heart says F, but my brain says it's more of a D, just because they played well. So it's a tale of two halves, basically. They allowed 14 in the first half, which isn't great. I mean, especially compared to some of the standards with the way this defense did last year. This was an interesting stat I put in one of the Facebook groups I'm in, because I'm in a bunch of Notre Dame Facebook groups. It's how I talk to Notre Dame fans, because, well, it is what it is. I need to rant sometimes. This is partially what these videos are for too, But anyways, I looked it up, and this 38 points against Florida State, we gave up less against Clemson in the Rose Bowl. Sorry, against Alabama in the Rose Bowl and against Clemson in the ACC championship game. Both games people considered us losing pretty bad, but those are top programs, especially last year. We gave up less points to Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne than we did to this Florida State team. That's not a great sign. I think whatever the shift was a game plan that just wasn't working. We were rushing. We had 3 D linemen for a big chunk of that second half. That was a big problem, because they were just running all over us, man. The run defense was atrocious. The linebacker play just wasn't great. I mean, in terms of pass rush, when they were throwing the ball, our pass rush was pretty good. We still have this problem when it comes to wrapping up quarterbacks, though. It drives me insane. I don't know if it's just the mobile guys, because, Florida State had 2 quarterbacks play, which didn't help us, because, they both killed us in different ways. Travis was more of a problem when it came to the running game, although not really. He only rushed for 9 yards, but he scrambled a lot, and actually Milton did too. They both just have shrugged off. We get people breaking through the line, and then they just whiff completely or get shrugged off. Basic tackling was an issue this game. It was infuriating to watch. It's an F now. Forget it. Forget the D. It was an F. They couldn't even tackle right. That's the biggest problem with this game. The stubbornness to not change your scheme when they're running down your throat. You dare them to run with your 3 front linemen, right? And then they murder you running, and you don't do anything. You don't change anything. It was an interesting. It was dumb to me. If you ask me, it was dumb. I'm not the DC. I don't want to rag on I don't want to rag on him because obviously we gave him a lot of love in the offseason. Everyone was really excited that Marcus Freeman was our new defensive coordinator. He still recruits his butt off, and I'm sure part of this is it's their first game in his scheme. And also, I think to be fair, part of it is these guys weren't in his scheme. These guys were recruited all by Clark Lee to fit Lee's scheme, and Freeman runs a different scheme, a very linebacker-heavy scheme, and our linebackers are just, I don't know if they've shown that they can handle this. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does, if he changes up his scheme at all, if he just trusts that these guys will adapt. But some of these linebackers just didn't look like they missed a lot of tackles, man. The D-line got pressured too, but it just wasn't enough when you let the quarterback escape you when you get back there. So there's a lot to work on defensively. That's just the truth, man. 264 rushing yards for Florida State. That's just unacceptable, man, especially from how good our defense did last year. Passing is still notable. I'll say we only gave up 178 yards passing. That's pretty good. I mean, Milton was dotting us up a little bit towards the end, but Travis was only 9 of 19 for 130 yards, and he also threw 3 picks. So in terms of pass defense, it wasn't awful. I think the corners actually did pretty well today. They did their jobs. Clarence Lewis, the stellar freshman from last season, had a pick today. Kyle Hamilton got the other 2 picks, and Hamilton is a beast. The other safety spot is worrying, though. I mean, Houston Griffin got burned on one of the Florida State's touchdowns pretty bad, and just no notable or good plays from the other safety playing opposite of Hamilton. In fact, they're part of the group that was missing a lot of tackles, which you just can't have happen. I'm definitely worried about what our safety situation will be once Kyle Hamilton leaves, most likely after this season when he goes to the draft. So keep an eye out for that. That might be next year. We might see a transfer safety, I think. I think it'd probably be best for the team, honestly, unless something crazy happens and the kids underneath develop really well. I mean, hopefully that's the case. It's always ideal if you can fix your team from within, but with the way the modern situation works, wouldn't shock me if we ended up getting a transfer safety next season. But see, this is what I talk about in my rants, guys. I'm already talking about potential transfer safeties for next season. I wander a bit, so sorry about that. But overall, like I said, run defense, so bad, so bad. But overall, it wasn't an awful. I mean, 5 sacks, counting half sacks, I believe is how ESPN does it. 2 from Foskey, who I don't know if he fit in any of my preview videos or not, but I mentioned last year too that kid is a beast, and with an expanded role, the man will be a monster this year. He's another kid with a NFL future, if you ask me, and he opened up the season awesomely with 8 tackles and 2 sacks. So big game for him. J.D. Bertrand had 11 tackles, not bad at all. That's one of those middle linebackers. Drew Light was 7. Kyle Hamilton was 6 tackles and 2 interceptions. One of them, he came from all the way across the field. That was something that was trending pretty huge during the game. So hopefully you've seen that play. That's just fantastic Kyle Hamilton work right there. That's a guy who'll be leaving for the NFL sooner than later. Jason Adamayola, I can't, his name might be wrong, had half a sack. Let's see. Cam Hart had a TFL, so shout out to him. A corner getting attacked for a loss. You'd love to see it. And then Justin. I'm pretty sure Justin and Jason, the Adimola twins, actually shared the sack. They both got a half sack. Yeah, so they shared that sack together, which is actually pretty cool. They both got to quarterback at the same time. Isaiah Pryor came in as a safety transfer from Ohio State. Looks to be playing more of that rover role. Had 3 tackles, and one of them ended up being a sack. Also had 2 quarterback hurries, so that's good to see. Griffith also had a quarterback hurry. Bo Bauer, Howard Cross, and Nana Ofaso-Mensah all had quarterback hurries. Stats-wise, though, Myron Tungavailoa was left off the board, basically only had 1 tackle. A lot of guys with 1 tackle. There's a pretty heavy rotation at defensive line. It'll be interesting to see if that stays that heavy forever or what happens. I'm guessing they're going to kind of work their way out a little bit. I forgot to mention that Kurt Hinish and Riley Mills also had sacks, so shout out to both of them. Hinish has been a starter for a while, but Mills is getting some more playing time and made the most of it, so shout out to him. What else, guys? Like I said, safety play wasn't great. Tackling in general just wasn't great. I wish there was a stat to track missed tackles, but there was definitely way too many of them today. I say today sometimes, but I definitely mean Sunday, the Labor Day game, so that's something we definitely need to work on. But 5 sacks I like a lot. Like I said, the pass rush was good, had no problem. That's something beautiful to carry over. Interceptions, too. In terms of forcing turnovers, 3 picks is very solid. That's good turnovers. We needed them, too, obviously, with how close this game was. So Turnovers and pass rush, pass defense, all solid. That run defense needs a lot of work. I think you need to be willing to adjust your front when they're running down your throat, and we need to, need to reteach the fundamentals about tackling back in practice. So overall, very good game. It's tough. It seems like I'd say a C overall because the offense did stellar, 41 points. The defense was just tragic, 38 points. But even the defense had its moments. It looked good in the first quarter for sure. Even the pass defense the whole game, even with all the other problems, was pretty good overall. The pass rush, 5 sacks. It's tough to complain about 5 sacks. So I don't know. With perspective in a couple days, I'm a bit more calm about it. I think especially based off just a lot of teams don't play their best football week 1. You don't want to play your best football week 1. We escaped with the win, so I can be this positive. If we didn't win, I would definitely be screaming a lot right now. But we got it done. Our season's still alive. We still have hopes. We got what I'd call a tune-up game next week against Toledo. That is exclusively on Peacock, by the way. So you might want to, see if you can get a trial for Peacock, or also just a heads up to anyone. If you have Xfinity cable, you actually already have Peacock, and you can watch this game for free. You do have to stream it, though, so you just voice remote Peacock or whatever. Just a heads up to anyone who doesn't know how to watch the Toledo game. I'm definitely going to be watching that. I'll try to get a preview out for it, but this is, there's not a lot to preview about the Toledo game. It's definitely one of those kind of tune-up games where hopefully we can destroy them and get freshmen some reps. Oh, it'd be fantastic if we could see some Tyler Buckner in the Toledo game, but we'll see what happens, right? Overall, guys, not a bad performance. Not good enough, though. I mean, if we played like this all year, we would not be title contenders, but I just have the faith that we won't play like this all year. The offense showed a lot. The O-line needs work. The biggest takeaways, I'd say, in terms of a negative thing for you, if you want something that you think, if you want to keep your eye out for, that they need to improve, is the offensive line and the run defense. Those are the two things that need a lot of work, and we'll see what happens come next week against Toledo, or this upcoming Saturday against Toledo, I should say, and then the week after. So, yeah, anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is KMA Preston. I really hope you enjoyed. Comment anything you want about this game or next game. Feel free to talk anything college football with me in the comments. I will gladly respond. I love talking college football. That's why I make these videos for an audience of, unfortunately, not that much. Also, while you're at it, please click the subscribe button. There should be a floating one over here with my logo. Don't feel free to click that up. Here's the Notre Dame playlist I was talking about yet again, in case you want to check out all my other Notre Dame videos. And over here is also a video of mine that YouTube decided to recommend for you. Thank you so much for watching. This is KMA Preston signing out. Sorry, one more thing. If you want to listen to any of my videos, since they're pretty long form, Notre Dame discussions, sport discussions in general, you can find the audio version under the KMA Sports Show. It's on basically all podcast platforms. So you just go to like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you just type in the KMA Sports Show. Not the KMA Sports Show, just KMA Sports Show. You should see it, and you should find the audio versions of videos like this. So make sure you check that out if you're interested. Anyways, guys, once again, rambling here. This is KMA Preston signing out. Thank you for watching. Go Irish.